Okay, so we'll continue with the seventh figure as shown here. So still a square of side 120, and then radius of this round here is 10, radius of fillet here is 10. Okay, so let's draw the square in place first. So I'll have 120 here, tap 120 there, and that is that. Now I'll divide them midway, like that, and then I'll still use a center corner rectangle method. So a center corner rectangle method like this. Now the center is going to be midpoint of this. So maybe what I can do for me to use a snap to get the midpoint, let me go into modify, and then I can use this here, break at a point. So click here, break at a point. I'll select the object, and then where do I want to break it by? I want to break it here at the midpoint like that. So I'm done. When I click on this, you see that the line is now broken into two. Now I'll go back for my rectangle and use the center corner method. This center is what I want. Okay, so for the width there, that is 10. And okay, so whether we call it the height or whatever it is, per the method I'm using is going to be 20. So 20, then enter. So maybe we can use a circle, then from here to there, and then same thing, so circle from here to there. Now TR for trim, will trim the extraneous parts like that. Okay, so at this point we can now array this. So I'll select the entire thing and then go to array here. I'll click in there and get polar array, and to specify the center point, I'll click here at the center. And now what I want is 8 items, and then all right. And obviously the space between is going to be 45. Okay, now we can close this out, and then we go to fillet. So we click on fillet, and then the fillet radius we are told is 10, so put in 10 and hit enter. And then I can click on this line and that line. So this line and that line, this line here and that line, then this line and that line, and that basically will be my solution for figure 7. Now, moving on to 8. Now I have a circle of diameter of 120 millimeters. Now looking at the nature of this, I have these lines, right, spaced at an angle of 45 degrees, and I have this one being half of that length. So let's take a look at things and how we can construct that. So circle, and maybe I can track this point up to here somewhere, and the radius will be 60. So diameter is 120, and then I have a line that goes from one end through to the other end, and I can array this. That's a polar array. Okay, so this is the midpoint required, so I'll just click there, and then the number of items that I'm looking for should be 8. So like that, and close. And now I have a line that is going that way, and the length of the line is half of the radius, so half of that is 30, so 30, and the angle is 22.5. That is midway between this and that. So I'll hit escape, and now I can join this part to that part and this to that, and then I have a continuation of the line going from here, right? So same line, make sure it's going in the same trajectory. So that is length of 15, and then the angle is still 22.5 from the horizontal, and then enter. 22.5 and enter. All right, so that line will now connect to this. Okay, so now I can connect from this point to that point, and that is the unit. That is the unit that I have in there. So I can select the entire unit, and then go to polar array. So click on polar array, and I'll select the items within the unit. Hit enter. This is the center of that, so click that, and I need 8 items like that, and that basically is my solution. Now on to the next one, which is figure 9. I still have so a square of side of 120, and then we'll continue from there. So I have 120 and 120, and now a circle with a radius here of 30, and another one, radius is 30, and then I can trim these parts, and now a circle again. The center of that circle is the intersection of these two, and the radius is just like that. So I can actually trim this part off, and then I'll mirror these two. Alright, so this looks like the unit cell, and then I have a square that goes from the center of this to that. Okay, and now I can array. So I will select all of this, hit enter. What I want is a rectangular array, so for columns I would have 2. The distance by short calculation will tell you that the distance between them should be 60. Alright, so if you observe, you see that the rows are moving to the top, so for the rows I'll have 2 as well, and then between for the rows should be 60 as well. So I'll put in 60. So 60. Alright, so you see that I have them here, but they are moving outside. That's not where I want them to be. So instead of 60, I'll rather use negative 60, and that will bring them to the side where I need them to be. Click on close, and that is the solution for that figure. So we go to the next one, figure 10. And for figure 10, we still have same square of side 120. And then we have arcs of radius of 10. Alright, so we come back here. And then I have the square. I'll track both points to get this. And then I have 120 here. Tap 120 there. Then enter. And I'll use circles. So center radius. I'll start from maybe the bottom. So from here the radius is 10. You can do the same thing. So circle again 20. Or I can just use offset. So offset, and then I'm offsetting by a distance of 10, so 10, and then enter. So I'll click on this and offset it outside, you know, and then do that multiple times until I have all of them. If you discover a better approach or a more efficient approach, you are allowed to use it. And then a last one like that, and enter to finish, and then I'll just go to trim, TR for trim, and I'll just drag a fence around the entire thing, right? Don't forget this. And I have unwanted, so I'll select all of these and delete them. Okay, so that is that. Now, looking at the figure, what I have is basically the remaining arcs are the opposite of this. So I can select all these arcs. Okay, so I'll select all of this, and then MI is shortcut for mirror, and my mirror line is the diagonal that goes through the both of them like that. And then erase source objects, I'll say no. Okay, so that basically completes this exercise. Now we move on to the next one. Okay, so for the next one, we have circles starting with a diameter of 20 all the way to a diameter of 120. So let's draw those. So let me circle, and then so my radius should be 60 like that, and then I should have another one, and that should have a radius of 10, and I'll use center line. So center line that goes through like that, then center line again, center line here goes through like this. Now I can draw another circle. This one would have a radius of 30. Okay, so I can draw another circle. So I've done radius. This should be radius of 20, and that I don't think is accurate. And now I'll continue. So from 20, I have 30, circle again, 40, circle again, and 50. Okay, now we look at our drawing and we see that circle of diameter is 40 So circles of diameters of 60 and 80, these two are actually constructed from hidden lines. So what we can do is we can go to uh, mechanical layer manager, which is this. So you click on mechanical layer manager, and then in here you click on new. Then we create a new layer. Let's call it hidden, and then under line type, which is this section, click here. There's an arrow, so you click on it and you choose hidden, and you can okay that. Now we can select those two circles, this one and that one, and then come here, click on this drop down, and then choose hidden, and those two will be converted to hidden for us. Now this one is a center line, so again we go back to mechanical layer manager, so you click on that, and then we click here on new, and for this we'll call it center, and we'll come back to here and align type. Let's click on continuous, and then we'll choose center and click OK. So now we can click on this circle to select it, and then in here change this layer to center. Okay, now what we can do next is there is a circle of radius of 3, diameter of 6 there, so we can draw that in place, then select this, and we can do a polar array. So click on array, make sure you have polar array, or in here select polar array, and we can select the circle and hit enter. Now we are asked for the center of the array. This is the center that we want, and how many items are in there? We have about 24. All right, so this is what we have for that, and this basically will be our solution for that. And then finally would have this last one here, would have this last one here, and again it's a square of side of 120, and then we'll draw our tennis courts in there. Okay, so we'll come back here, and then we have the square, so it's 120 and then 120. Now we can divide them, and we can draw a line measuring from here to a distance of 10. Okay, let me put on the ortho mode. Okay, and the same thing, measuring 10 from there, and now midway through the both of them I would have this, and midway through the upper half, or rather midway through this point, I'll draw this. Okay, so this is the unit that we have. Now I can now select all of this and then go into move and then select copy, move, and then rotate. So all of that, it's selected or copied. Now I want to move it by this point. So from here to where I need it to be, that is 60. And then I'll rotate it like that. Okay, and then from this point to that point should be 60. And then I'll rotate it like that. And then from that point downwards is still 60. And I'll rotate it like that. Then hit enter. And that basically is my solution. So you try your hands on these quick start exercises, and that will improve your proficiency in using the software. So you see that for the first part A, the first 6 items, we worked quite slowly, and then for the second half, we worked a little bit at a faster rate. The assumption being that you are now picking the concepts up.